Welcome to the Darkstream, VoxDay, voxday.net, and unauthorized.tv. Thanks for tuning in. We are just sweltering in the European heat. Air conditioning, of course, while it sort of exists, is just not built into the houses here. And honestly, you don't even usually bother messing around with it just because you only need it for a few days a year, 2 weeks at most. So anyhow, I should actually bring a fan down, but I haven't actually bothered to do so. So anyhow, we get by. And to be honest, I kind of like the heat when it comes to the first practices of the year for soccer, because you're far less likely to pull something when it's hot. So anyhow, so turn up your volume. I mean, my volume is cranked up all the way. So that one would probably have to be on you, I would assume. Anyhow, and also, just don't bring up tech support questions unless like the audio is completely screwed or the video is completely screwed. It's extremely distracting. When people are like, well, my system's not working properly. And, I mean, the answer is reload. If it's too quiet, turn it up. This is not rocket science. Anyhow, but, at the end of the day, it's our platform, and the intro music is real loud. Yeah, I should probably figure out how to turn that down on the streaming software. But anyhow, I mean, we can sit here and talk about technical issues the whole time if that's what you guys really want to do. Not what I plan to do, but if that's what you're going to keep talking about, I think that kind of defeats the purpose of doing these things. I have a Linux notebook, a notebook that I'd like to put Linux on, but unfortunately it has a issue with some sort of unidentified network card, which I suspect is why the guy was practically giving it away for free. But anyhow, let's see here. Yeah, I suspect there's something. I had a problem with my my USB interface, and I got it working, but I'm kind of wondering if there's some issue related to that. So anyhow, one of these days when I have the time to deal with that, I will, but I've been a lot busier trying to get things working, like the bindery, which I think is arguably a little more important. Coffee Grounds Bear says, my phone is about to die. Can someone help? Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, and this actually touches on the subject that we were going to get into. Sigma game has really been heating up in the last, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, and it's obviously beginning to come to the attention of some people on Substack and who are interested in the subject but don't necessarily agree with me very much, which is fine, which is their right. But they come in with no information about the larger subject. They have come in with no context whatsoever, and then they just start leaping in and attacking and so forth. And in like manner, you also see people that try to get pedantic, and if a general statement is made, the first thing they want to do, the first thing they always want to do is bring up an exception to the rule that they personally experienced, which of course gives them an excuse to talk about themselves and their experience. Never mind that this is both intrinsically creating conflict, right? And it's also a bit of a tangent, because what does it have to do with anyone else? You know, when you're talking, for some reason, midwits have this belief that any general statement is by definition an absolute statement. So if you say, most bears are smart, someone will invariably say, well, now, this one time I was in Yellowstone, and I met a bear who was so dumb that I beat him at tic-tac-toe 3 times in a row. And I even let him start with the first X. Now, what does that say about anything? Does that refute the statement about bears? The person said bears are smart. That's a general statement. It's not an absolute statement. Could you interpret it as an absolute statement? Yes, you could. Is that the realistic assumption? No, it is not. Anytime someone makes a general statement, assume that it is a general, non-absolute statement, sans any evidence to the contrary. If somebody says, absolutely all bears, every single one, all of them, without exception, are smart, then it is appropriate to take exception. That's an absolute statement, not a general statement. And when an absolute statement is made, all it takes is one counterexample to disprove the validity of that statement. The same is not true of a general statement. So it's important, I think, to learn the difference, because all you do is look like a pedantic jackass when you manage to find your singular exception. Swedish Trash Panda asked how the bear would feel if it hadn't eaten breakfast. Dumb bear couldn't answer properly. QED, bears are dumb. Well, exactly, because everyone knows that bears eat breakfast. There's not a bear on the planet who would skip breakfast. See, that's an absolute statement. Well, it was first a general statement, bears eat breakfast, followed by the absolute, there's not a bear on the planet who doesn't eat breakfast. So, for the benefit of everybody in your life and everybody who doesn't appreciate irrelevant, pedantic, would-be corrections, do try to learn the difference. If you learn the difference, you will not be so inclined to jump in and behave in this way. As I said, Sigma game has been heating up. I think we're about to hit our first 400 comment post, which was yesterday's post on the idea that intelligence is not attractive. Now, how many of you here believe that you find intelligence to be attractive? Doesn't matter if you're male, doesn't matter if you're female. I'm just curious to know if anyone here genuinely thinks that. I've known a number of people who, mostly women, but some men, who will claim with a straight face that they find intelligence to be attractive. Some people even go so far as to describe themselves as sapiosexuals. While Gareth Bear said virtues are attractive, intelligence may or may not be. Yeah, I don't think that anyone has ever described intelligence among the cardinal virtues. In fact, one of the many tropes in fiction is the intelligent villain and the less intelligent hero with a heart of gold. Coffee Grounds says, I wouldn't say intelligence is necessarily attractive, but glaring stupidity can be very unattractive. That's a different that's something different. We're talking about what is actively attractive as opposed to what is an avoidance of dysattractive. Humor is seen by women as being attractive, which is a sign of intelligence. Intricate knowledge about esoteric Warhammer lore isn't. Well, theoretically, but honestly, if you think about your average class clown, he wasn't generally a particularly popular person with the ladies. I could be wrong. I mean, obviously your mileage may vary, but if you look at the average comedian, they're not exactly lady killers for the most part. They might do fine. There's that one guy who's reasonably popular right now, who apparently, is very successful with women. But his whole shtick is that he's a really good-looking guy, and he is a good-looking guy. If you look at David Chappelle, who is arguably one of the funniest comedians on the planet, Robin Williams, very funny guy. These guys didn't do very well. I mean, nobody was comparing Robin Williams to, say, Brad Pitt in terms of desirability. Swedish Trash Panda says they're usually unattractive Fort Knox Americans trying to overcome the burden of their face. I think that's true in some cases, but Owen's a pretty normal looking guy, except for, of course, being physically massive. David Spade, tiny little dwarf guy, but not bad looking. Adam Sandler looks like an egg, literally. And also he's not funny. So, so when you look at this, it becomes very obvious that while intelligence can be useful in helping you obtain any objective, no matter what it is, intelligence is not in itself a attractor. Women are hypergamous, which means that a woman is generally going to prefer that her man be taller than her, heavier than her. She's going to prefer that he makes more money than her. And she's also going to prefer that he's more intelligent. But that's not the same thing as being attracted to intelligence. When you're attracted to something, when something is an attractor, it can be measured in terms of its quantity. If you like, if you find that a wealthy man is attractive, the more wealth he has, the more attractive you're going to find him. The more attractive his wealth is going to be. You might find somebody having, being a millionaire to be attractive. A billionaire would be even more attractive to someone who's attracted to wealth. In terms of height, yeah, you might, if you're a 5'6" woman, you might want your guy to be at least 5'8", but you're probably gonna be a lot more attractive to him if he's 6'2" or 6'3". Now, I do think that you do have the problem of extremes. You know, once you get too great an extreme with regards to height, I think that the attraction turns negative. But I will also say that if you look at some of the other facial features and attributes that come along with great height, you know, like Sean Bradley at 7'6", who's, you know, skinny and weird looking and all that sort of thing. I'm not sure it's the height that's necessarily the problem. You know, I mean, I saw him at the Target Center uh, during the NBA All-Star Weekend when it was held there back in the late 90s. Um, Actually met Charles Barkley that night. But Sean Bradley didn't move like a human. He moved like some sort of praying mantis, an awkward, clumsy praying mantis in a human suit. That's the only way I can describe it. Um, so that's why I'm not entirely sure that, you know, if he was a properly athletic, well-built 7'6" guy, maybe women would have found it attractive. I don't know. I really don't. Um, but certainly at 6'8", uh, you know, women found Owen attractive. I mean, you know, his wife Amy is an attractive woman. Um, you know, there's no denying it. And so I think that, you know, where that extreme level goes negative, I don't know. And I'm not even sure that it does. But more intelligence does you no good whatsoever. You know, women usually pick up very, very quickly that I'm more intelligent than they are. Their ability to extend the full extent of it is virtually nil. You know, I can probably count on one hand, and I probably don't even need my thumb to do it, to think about the women who, within a reasonably short period of time, say, you know, within a couple hours of actual engagement, recognized where I actually am intellectually. And it probably won't surprise you to know that all of those women were, you know, in the 3 standard deviation plus crowd themselves, right? But that's never, ever been something that has helped me get a date or generated any female interest in me, despite the fact that in intelligence terms, you know, I'm basically a Brad Pitt, George Clooney. And yet it doesn't help. Ergo, it's not an attractor. It can't be. It's always kind of funny to me when people say that, well, you know, you're just self-confident, and your self-confidence stems from your intelligence, which isn't true. You know? I mean, look at the smartest people you know. Most of them completely lack self-confidence, don't they? You know, most of them are kind of awkward socially and don't really know how to behave or talk to normal people, or, you know, many of them are even afraid to talk to women. so if, yes, in my case, there's self-confidence, but the self-confidence is not related to the intelligence. Yes, I've learned how to use it. Yes, I'm very confident going into a debate or any sort of verbal conflict or anything like that. Powers That Bear says, I think spiritual intelligence is an attractor. Gurus do pretty well. That's not spiritual intelligence. That's con men. Con men, gurus are basically a combination of con man and a salesman. They're always selling. I mean, if you look at, yeah, Swedish Trash Man says, bitches love con men. They don't love con men. They are victimized by con men with great regularity. Why? Because unlike very intelligent men, con men study their prey. If you look at the way that Neil Gaiman approached his goth girl fans, and there's a great screenshot of something that he posted on top. I'm just curious because I don't really get much feedback, but I'm just curious as to what age group my readers fall into. I'm seeing this thinking, yeah, I bet you were. I really bet you were. And, predators go where the prey is. If a guru is after sex, then you can guarantee that his spiritual teachings and his form of enlightenment is somehow going to involve him having sex with his followers. Aren't you glad we're not that kind of cult? If they're after money, then that's what they're focused on. Name it, claim it. If you don't give me $100,000, God's gonna take me home. I mean, all you need to know about the nature of the con is to look at what the guru, the maestro, the master focuses on. Joybird's song, I'm not going to pretend that doesn't wound me. She wanted everyone to know that she is glad that we're not that kind of cult. So we're not a cult at all, of course, but even if we were, we wouldn't be that kind. So the cult of the well-bound leather book. Speaking of that, our sign is supposed to go up on the stadium in time for the first home game. So I'm hoping to catch a screenshot of that. Trevor says, but I am attracted to your intelligence. No, you're not. You like that I'm intelligent, but there is no one on the planet, there's not a single woman on the planet who is stalking Fields Medal winners or other known first-class intellects and trying to attract their interest. It just doesn't happen, there's a difference between I enjoy this person's intelligence, I learn from them, I value it, etc., etc., but you're not attracted to it. I've never asked Space Bunny about it, and I don't plan to, because it's just one of those discussions that you just kind of have the general feeling is not going to go anywhere positive. But I would be willing to bet that although she's always preferred intelligent, observably intelligent men, I would be willing to bet that she finds the full extent of my intelligence to be as much a negative as a positive. I could be wrong, but that's something that is perhaps interesting for a woman who's involved with a VHIQ or a UHIQ man. Do I really like that he's that out there? Or, would I honestly kind of prefer it if he was a bit more normal, a bit more accessible? It kind of makes me laugh now and then. Like tonight we had some folks over for dinner, and the two men who were there are both involved in soccer at a pretty substantial level. And so we were just talking about nothing but soccer. Personal experiences, professional experiences, the business of the game, tactics of the game, and so forth. And at one point, Space Bunny came in and rescued the wife who was sitting in the room with us. and said something about, come on and join us in here. I'll save you from all the football talk. Now the funny thing is, obviously, I have a lot of other interests in football, right? But I've learned not to talk about them with other men in social situations. It's just not it's not a good idea to talk to people about your esoteric ideas. Very few people are interested in discussing the philosophy of the Stoics, the Cambridge medieval history, the triumph of Christianity, which we've just reached and is a very fascinating chapter, by the way. If you haven't subscribed to Castelli Library Substack, I really encourage you to do so, because you will learn so much from those readings. We post something up there pretty much every day, and it's just really good information, very valuable information. And so Powers That Bear says, my sister married the opposite of intelligence, and it almost appeared as if his lack of intelligence was attractive to her. As long as the guy is competent in gears and whatnot. There's so there's so many facets to attraction and so forth that it's just foolish to try to depend upon what one attribute that frankly is arguably disattractive to some extent. Ideally, from a female perspective, they want a guy who's 5 to 15 IQ points higher than she is. If it's more than 30, you are not going to be talking about any complicated, sophisticated concepts, because you're going to run into the communications gap. Um, Zach Log says, that's part of why I'm so lonely. No one to talk about 75% of what interests me. But see, that's not, first of all, you don't really want or need to talk about those things. Remember, most of the ideas um, uh, that you think you have don't even exist. They're feelings. Um, if you think you have these great thoughts, then write them down, articulate them. Until you articulate them, you don't know they exist. And, even if you meet somebody who is at your level intellectually, that doesn't mean that they're going to be interested in the same sort of things that you are. I lived with one guy who was at my level and another guy who was at a higher level, and the only thing that I had in common with the guy at the higher level was our mutual interest in music. And we actually, he was in my first band, and we got along fine. Never had any problems. But, he was devoted to the search of the eternal buzz, and I wasn't. So, but the thing is that my suspicion, Zach Log, is that you don't like to listen to other people very much. You like to talk. And one thing I've noticed is that intelligent men who complain that no one wants to talk about what interests them tend to be really bad at either listening to other people or making small talk. And, it doesn't bother me in the slightest that, I'm not talking to anybody at all about my more esoteric ideas. There's a difference between social engagement and intellectual engagement. And if you're seeking, loneliness is not related to intellectual engagement. Loneliness is related to social engagement. And so, if you're as smart as you think you are, then why don't you try using that to solve the problem in a different way than you think is necessary? Because you're never going to solve that. You're never going to solve a feeling of loneliness through intellectual engagement. So what you need to do is essentially learn a foreign language. Like for me, it's fairly easy. I play sports. I'm an athlete. I know how to talk to athletes about sports. It's not hard. Read a little bit of the appropriate website. Learn who is starting, learn who is scoring, learn who's injured. There's 45 minutes at the bar with the boys right there. I mean, I can talk intelligently about the National League. I know a bit about League One. I actually watched Wrexham get destroyed in the Caribou Cup or whatever they call it by Sheffield United. And you know, I can talk a bit about Serie A, La Liga, the NFL, etc., etc. Now I'm thinking of an episode of the IT Crowd where they tried that and it went badly wrong because they tried to fake it. You know, same thing with Big Bang Theory when Leonard tries to watch a football game with the football fans, and you know, he you can always tell when somebody's faking it because they jump in and they say something really obviously stupid, you know, instead of just doing what everybody else actually does and behaving normally and listening and talking about the stuff as it comes up, you know. You know, like for example, where your intelligence can come in handy, for example, is, you know, we were watching, this is years and years ago, we were watching the Vikings play the Packers, and Dante Culpepper was the quarterback. Randy Moss lined up in the slot for once, and the Packers defense didn't adjust their defense. And so, you know, before the ball was even snapped, I said, touchdown, Randy Moss. And then, you know, boom, Culpepper saw it too, hit him in stride, touchdown. And you know, my friends were like, whoa, how did you know that? I said, because number 53 was lined up on him. You cannot cover Randy Moss with a linebacker. So what did you have to know? What all you had to know is linebackers wear 53. Randy Moss is fast. End of story, you know. Let's see. Cliff Cosmic says, most of my friends are dogs now, so I've accepted not being able to hold intelligent conversations. See, I disagree. You can have intelligent conversations. You're just not going to get, you know, particularly great responses. This might amuse some of you. Apparently in the Daily Mail, not apparently, in the Daily Mail yesterday, probably still today by US standards, there was some article about 7 odd eccentricities of the geniuses or something like that. And so my wife says, so did you see that article today about, you know, 7 habits? I said, yeah. I said, actually, I thought it was kind of funny because, you know, I've definitely got 6 of them. She goes, which one did you think you don't have? I said, I don't talk to myself. She's like, I hear you talking to yourself all the time. I said, I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to the dogs. It doesn't count. Talking to the dogs is not talking to yourself. You're literally talking to another living being that listens to you. And honestly, I'm not sure that they understand much less of anything that I say than anybody else, you know? So, I mean, I had a little friend over there, but apparently he exited stage right at some point before I started streaming. I didn't even realize he'd moved. But anyhow, she and I will just have to agree to disagree on that one. So anyhow, I think that it's important to focus on using your intelligence rather than appealing, or rather than expecting your intelligence to be appealing. And I think it can be true for your relationships with men. It can be true for your relationship with women. You know, stop holding on to your assumptions and using whatever brain cells you've got to rationalize your previous assumptions. Instead, analyze what's actually there. Powers That Bear says, from my experience, the source of wisdom is often shocking. Vox, for example, would be a shocking source of wisdom for many people's view. Well, yeah, most people, your average normal person, they don't think I'm quite as crazy as they did about 10, 15 years ago. But when you're the stand-in for ultimate evil in the view of the SJWs and whatever, the normal perspective is not necessarily going to be all that much better. But again, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference what people happen to think, because the truth is always going to be the truth. Eventually, when reality catches up with you, at the very least, people usually stop condemning you for the things that you were correct about. They won't give you credit in most cases for being right, but at least they'll stop insisting that you're wrong or crazy or evil for simply having been perspicacious. So, any correlation between intelligence and wisdom? No, none. Sometimes intelligence looks like wisdom, and sometimes people who are wise are erroneously assumed to be intelligent. But I've made this analogy many times before. The difference between intelligence and wisdom is the difference between the size of the gun and the ability to aim it. The wise person knows what is important. They know what to focus on. The intelligent person, they've got a big gun, but if they don't know where to aim it, it's useless. Because, garbage in, garbage out. And yes, Zach Log is also correct. Intelligent people can be very good at rationalizing poor decisions. That's why you get what I think C.S. Lewis or one of those writers called the clever sillies, and what Taleb called the intellectual yet idiot. I mean, they're all saying the same thing. Does the wise person always have pattern recognition? No, pattern recognition is intelligence, not wisdom. It can also fall under to be honest, I think pattern recognition is a combination of experience and intelligence. I don't think it has anything to do with wisdom. The wise person will correctly intuit something like, they'll correctly intuit that someone is evil without actually having any reason to do so, without having any active pattern recognition. But wisdom is more important than intelligence. And intelligence is only a tool. You should not make it your identity. It's actually worse to make it your identity than basing your identity on looks or height, or any of those sorts of things. Very wise people take advantage of the wisdom of the past. Maybe. I think the wisdom of the past is accessible to all of us. I think Chesterton called it the democracy of the dead, but I think it's a lot more than that. I think that it's it's the ability to tap into literal centuries of trial and error. You can avoid all kinds of error simply by relying upon tradition. Is intelligence as identity a core feature of the gamma? It's very common. I wouldn't say it's a core feature yet. I think the jury is out. But I do think that you see it a lot. You know, these are the people that were told from day one that they're mommy's smart boy. You know, they were probably one of the two smartest people in a class of 20 to 30. You know, my dad used to say, if you are so smart, why aren't you rich, to people that annoyed him? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, because the obvious answer is being rich is not my priority. You know, there's plenty. I mean, there's plenty of ways to get rich that you don't have to be that smart to figure out. It's just a question of, you know, do you want to take the risks? You know, I'm sure I would have been an extremely successful cocaine dealer. You know, I'm very, very confident that I could have built up a very sizable cartel business, whatever you want to call it, if I was willing to do that. But I'm not, because money is not my priority. You know, obviously, we need money to do the things that we do. I appreciate very much the support of all the Castalia subscribers, the UATV subscribers that make this stuff possible, right? Yeah, and LeBron is a, you know, billionaire. That doesn't mean that he's smart. You know, and of course these days, living in clown world, you know, you almost have to be some sort of ticket taker to have success beyond a certain point. And there are people who are willing to pay that price, and fortunately there are plenty of others who are not. You know, but our identities are formed before we have the ability to decide what is the right way to do. You know, what the right foundation, the right basis should be. You know, some of us are fortunate because, you know, we're good athletes, or we were physically beautiful, or we came from solid families where we knew beyond any shadow of a doubt that we were loved. You know, there's all kinds of things that our identities are based in that go into making up our identity. We can't do anything about those. Our identity is what it is. But what we can do is we can improve our self-image, and we can improve our image in the eyes of the world by improving ourselves. And there's many, many different ways to do that. You know, but probably some of the best things to do are just to attack your weaknesses one at a time. You know, one thing that I try to do in order to battle my tendency towards laziness and procrastination is I attempt to make sure that I accomplish at least one task a day. And when I say one task, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be something that Space Bunny wants me to do. It can be something that needs to be done for the family. You know, just one thing that has nothing to do necessarily with, you know, anything related to work or whatever. You know, so for example, Space Bunny had a problem with her car, and you know, today was the day to get it taken care of. I'd actually arranged for it to get taken care of today. It did get taken care of today. Boom, boom, boom. You know, I feel a sense of accomplishment that I didn't procrastinate on the kind of thing that I normally do. You know, I also had two important business meetings, but you know, those are the kind of things I never screw up. It's about focusing on the kind of stuff that you normally do screw up. So anyhow, and just for kicks, I'm all talked out and so forth. So, but I do have two tunes to play for you tonight. These are both what I call Vibe Patrol. And what that means is it's stuff that's more going back to my club roots, you know, not necessarily psychosonic style, but just stuff that's more focused on, you know, the kind of tune that you'd hear when you're out, have a good time. What I wanted to do is just experiment a bit with Suno and see if I could do something that was, you know, like an upbeat sort of, you know, party dance jam thing. You know, the kind of thing that everybody would go, yeah, you know, instinctively when it came on at the club. And what was interesting about it, just from a structural point of view, is this is the first one that I've developed with that I've developed by bringing, you know, uploading stuff into the AI system. Because what happened was I was experimenting. I just wanted to see how well you could create a rap. I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a Public Enemy style song. And I had just typed in this random old rap that I vaguely remembered from like 1982 or so. And I don't know if it's my imagination or what, but I mean, I've not been able to find this thing anywhere, not through any lyrical system, not through anything. So I'm beginning to wonder if like somebody had just made it up, but it was terrible. But I did like this one little bit of the groove. So I thought, huh. Now, Suno's given you the ability to separate the vocals from the instrumentation. So I split it, pulled it down, clipped out the 15 seconds that I wanted, and then brought it in, you know, with some different prompts and so forth. And so, and this is kind of funny because it's actually based on something that someone told me once when we were in the appropriate sort of environment. So I hope you will enjoy, and you can go ahead and crank it up, I'm sure, but I'll turn this on, and hopefully you will enjoy Vibe Patrol, A Drink with a Coconut. This doesn't seem to want to be playing. Let me see this. What's going on here? Okay, that's not working. Let me remove it and see if I can fire it up again. Huh, does not want to play. I wonder if this has gone back to not liking MP3s again. We briefly had that for a while. I'll see if I can pull up a different older version. Let's see. that's not it. Okay, hang on. Let me. I'm going to play you something else. This is the Wonderwall one. You may have heard this one before, and I'll figure out how to get the other one working. So this is Vibe Patrol's Wonderwall remix that that was done by the DJ who kind of first started mixing some of this stuff.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my
Between 1979 and 2002, no guitar solos were recorded. 20 years later, Booster Patrol was created to rectify this stunning musical catastrophe.
there are many things that I'd like to say to you, but I don't know how.
20 years later.
Because maybe
So that was a proper, DJ mix. I think there's like 4 different songs, 2 of them, 2 different versions of Wonderwall. One that was put together by E-Rock. Some of my vocals were on there. Somebody else's, I have no idea whose cover version. And then like 2 garage rap things. I don't know even know who it is. But they all really work together, which is cool. So anyhow, but what's cool about it is that the idea of Vibe Patrol kind of got me working in that vein a bit. And so let me fire up this. I think this should work. Here we go. So that was a drink with a coconut. That one's actually an original Vibe Patrol. And so John vows that we can actually do some interesting versions, remixes, and so forth of that. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I just like trying to do different sorts of things. I mean, obviously you've heard some of the metal stuff, and some of the rock stuff. So, it's just such a powerful tool. And it's a fun challenge. I think that it's going to put a lot more. It's going to put a lot more power into the hands of the producers, which of course could be kind of a bad thing since, there's like 20 producers who produce all of the pop music in the world. But on the other hand, maybe it's going to free us from those chains because, what's to keep a DJ from taking that, putting it out, and if people like it, putting it on the floor, and if people like it, then it just goes viral. So we'll see. That was literally my first attempt at doing this kind of stuff. So hopefully I'll get better at it. But yeah, that chorus has a good flow. That chorus has a great flow. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed it. I'm Vox Day. This is the Darkstream. Have a good evening.